Ready.
Hello, everyone. This is Renee, Piane, and Clayton. Welcome back to Get Real About Love.
Here we are.
How you doing? You're getting ready to come back to the U.S. soon, right, Clay?
Well, I'm in the U.S. here in Hawaii, but yeah, back home to California pretty soon.
Well, we can't wait to see you because we're going to be doing some of these live real soon. And we are really excited about the feedback. I know Clayton has been getting a lot of people. So tell us what's going on with all the feedback.
Well, people are starting to say, hey, sure would like it if you talk about this. I think the transparency and the fact that we are sharing the love and helping people get a few tools in place so that they get more of that love is really appealing. And it's a positive message. We're not here to run anybody down. We're here to say, hey, look for signs that are going to give you more reliably what you really want in your heart, right?
Yeah, and speaking of that, today's topic is how to know if you are dating a high-speed chaser. Now, I call this the bad boy or the playgirl. Like, there's a lot of people from all over the world that are like, oh my God, I did it again. I am dating a bad boy, or I am dating this woman and she's playing me big time, right?
Well, they're exciting. They're a lot of times they're fun people. And that's how they get away with the high-speed chaser you're talking about. And I suppose all of us have done it from time to time. I will admit I went through a phase in my life where I was well-known from my career, and I could get away with stuff without really committing very much emotional energy. Ultimately, it wasn't really my character, but it's a phase I think that some of us pass through, especially in our youth, or when we get a head full of our own ego. Mm-hmm.
Well, I always say to my clients, and it says right here, you seem to always attract people who just can't commit. They're always on the run. They're always on the, they're like, I'm over here, I'm over there. Now, when I was running speed dating, I was called a playgirl because I was running events all over the country and I was flying from city to city to do media. And people would say, well, you could be quite a playgirl, young lady. And I'd say, well, the funny thing is people would assume that me running a company where people are dating, that I'd be dating all of these people. But when you're running it, you're not really focused on that. Of course, if I did meet somebody, I'd squeeze in a date here. But I was known to be a workaholic person. And guys weren't interested in somebody that was flying around, men that were really serious. But the players were always attracted to me, the high-speed chasers, I call them. And so
probably a high-flying woman.
Have you ever met a playgirl? Have you ever met a playgirl that played with you?
Oh, sure. I'm remembering one Russian gal that I met overseas, and it was pretty clear within a very short time what she was really interested in. I mentioned to her, would you like to come to the beach with me, next week or something like that? She says, sure, send your helicopter and, fly me down to the 5-star hotel. And I was like, okay, thank you for sharing. I think I've got your vibe. And,
well, people show the signs and sometimes you don't even realize it. But sometimes they go in for the play, like they go in with all this love and all this adoration right away. It's like a hard close, like on the first or second date. And I have so many clients that call me from online dating and they talk and talk, right? And then they feel this magic and they go, I think I've met my soulmate. Then they go either fly in or the person flies them and they see each other. And then suddenly it sizzles out right away because they jumped in too soon and found out that that person had 3 or 4 other people they were doing the same thing with. And sometimes they get caught, and it is really brutal to some people. So I'm here to offer, and I know Clayton has read these, and I think that these are signs. Like if you're not listening or aware of these signs and you're involved with somebody that makes you feel doubtful about yourself, then you need to listen. So here's one. Maybe you can turn to page 60, Clayton, and I'll read one. So the first one is on page 60. They're vague and don't make solid plans ahead of time. Bad boys and playgirls use the word, I like to be spontaneous. I'm going to give you a call. So if they if you say no, that they say, oh God, just be open and be fun. So they never seem to commit. So what's the next one, Clayton? This is an important one.
Well, you tell them several times that you have a special work event, a wedding, a family-related celebration coming up, and you want them to be there. However, they often don't acknowledge or remember and conveniently forget that you told them. Then they apologize with a nice dinner, flowers, and a great night of sex. Because of this, you erase the disappointment and give them the benefit of the doubt. This behavior often is repeated over and over, and you assume that they just need their space.
Oh my God, don't you want to kill people that do that? I do.
Well, it's extremely, manipulative. And that the spontaneous thing you spoke about earlier, I think is really telltale when they kind of use that as leverage against you. You're not a fun person if you can't just like spin on your heel, And there's a place for that, but when that's a consistent MO, and then someone is, not really honoring what's important to you in your life, you've got to ask yourself, how much do they really care about how I feel? That's the bottom line.
Well, it's really important for that fix that you're looking for. Many of us say, I can deal with a high-speed chaser or a playgirl, and I'm not going to get involved. And then months later, I had so many clients, they would call me and they said, remember that guy, or remember that woman I told you I was not going to see anymore? Well, I haven't called you because I did it anyway. My little boy wanted a fix and I got my fix, and now I'm hurt and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you got to heal this instant fix thing. That's what is happening to a lot of people. They rush into love, and it's really not a good idea. Not a good idea. So we have 3 more minutes to talk about all this. So I don't know about you, but I meet people every single day who have spent 3 or 4 years trying to change a bad boy. I had a girl that I met on the at the gym one New Year's Eve. Yeah, she was with a guy. She said, I've been dating him for 3 years, and it was New Year's Eve. And I said, so what are you doing tonight? And she goes, I don't know. He hasn't called yet. And I'm like, you mean you don't have New Year's Eve plans? And she said, no, well, maybe. And I said, so 3 years you've been dating him. Did he ever, has he met your parents? No. So all the signs, I was asking her all these questions, and all of them were no, no, no. Has he ever asked you for a commitment? No. How often do you sleep with him? A few nights a week. Do you see him on the weekends? No. Does he ever take you on vacation? No. Has he met your parents? No. So I said, well, it's the new year, and you're going to go over at the last minute. He'll probably call you about 7 o'clock. This is at 4 p.m. on New Year's Eve, and he hadn't made plans. Well, lo and behold, she got invited to a party. So I said, you get dressed up and go to that party, because he's going to call you late tonight, because he's probably has 3 or 4 options, and he's trying to decide which girl he's going to juggle on New Year's, and you're going to be one of his list. So when he calls, tell him no. Basically, that night, she made a decision that she said, listen, I've been dating you for 3 years, and the fact that you didn't make plans with me, I already have plans. He got really mad, but she went out that night, and she met her husband that night.
Wow.
That night, she changed her mind, and she knew inside that he was bad. So this is happening to a lot of people. So really listen to your heart, your gut, if it feels like something isn't right or somebody's not ready. And I know Clayton had experienced some of that, and it makes you feel bad, but it really doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to, this can look at a bunch of different ways. People can be very wounded and demonstrate some of this behavior. I think on the rebound, I know for myself, I'm very raw. I'm very, I can get excited very fast when someone appears in my life and wants to give me love when I'm feeling really hurt from something else.
Yeah.
But it's a very dangerous place for me to go in my mind. And so I need to take the time, as you often advise, to get real about love and find out who this person is and find out where I am before I get involved with somebody who turns out to be a player or unable to give me the commitment that I justifiably am looking for. real love.
It is really all about honesty. And as we continue with our work, we are only here to share secrets and wisdom so that you choose wisely from this point on in your life. And I think that this sparkle that everybody wants to have, usually when you meet somebody that has that energy that turns you on, that sparkle isn't going to go anywhere if they really want a commitment. So a lot of women say that if they don't sleep with a man, now 3 people called me this week and told me the same story. I went out with a guy twice, 3 times, and by the 3rd date, he was expecting me to sleep with him, and I did not, and then he never called back. I said, well, lucky for you, you didn't drop your... Yeah, 3 women this week that I coached. They were very sad. They met somebody. They had the sparkle. They went on 3 dates. They kissed on the couch. The guy was trying to close the deal, on the 2nd date saying, oh, we feel this chemistry. She's like, I don't even know anything about you. Let's take our time. Let's take our time. And she didn't. And then he called and said he had a great time. They saw each other again, and he tried to lock it down again in bed, and she did not do it. And then he never called her back. He never called her back. So he was a high-speed chaser. He wanted it to make her feel that feeling, make her feel that he was ready for love, and then he backed out when she denied to make love with him when she didn't even know him. So be smart with your heart. Be smart with your heart.
In the few minutes we have remaining, give guys some advice too about, because frankly, with the social media, I think it's really changed the landscape in dating. I'm noticing a lot more exhibitionism coming from women using their charms. I find rather indiscriminately, broadcasting them to potentially thousands of people, but primarily targeted to men to get their kind of fix. So there's a lot of women are doing this now too. I suppose, birth control makes them just about as equal with men if they want to have that kind of short-term thrill-seeking relationship. Do you agree? Is that your experience?
Well, in my experience, when people are breaking up, sometimes people go right out to get a fix, to cut off the energy from their past. And they'll call me and say, my friends have advised me to go right out and date. And I said, well, there's a difference between dating and then going out and getting laid. I mean, people will say, well, I'm going to go out and get laid. And I'm like, well, what is that really going to do for you to meet a stranger?
That thrill as opposed to get to know somebody.
That's right. And they say, well, it's going to break the bond that I have with this person. And I said, well, if you're still hurting over it, it could make it worse, because you're then, after you've had this, sacred time with someone that you thought was special, and then all of a sudden they weren't ready and you get hurt, the easiest thing for most people to do is to go get laid, right? Or go get a fix from,
distract yourself. Yeah.
I call it get juice from men. Now, there's nothing wrong with flirting. There's nothing wrong with going out and maybe drinking and partying and flirting. But if you start to just have sex with people just to numb your pain, I often find that the people feel worse in the long run. Now, some people, you feel worse.
I think it really came down to, the little emotional guy that lives inside of me. If I'm doing that kind of behavior, I'm throwing him under the bus because he really wants to feel something beautiful.
Yeah.
And that takes time to grow. And if I'm having those kind of short-term relationships, I'm ignoring a whole part of myself that really doesn't get to come to the party.
Yeah.
And that's not sustainable in me for very long.
But if each person could hear what he just said, and this is kind of important as we wrap this up, is that we all have a little girl and a little boy inside of us all.
Sure.
And when you're hurt, you will do anything to get that fix. And you don't have your mommy to go to. So you have to parent yourself so that you don't go out and repeat the same things over and over.
Well, you get into an addictive pattern of thrill seeking that doesn't feed a major part of you that's hungry.
Yeah. And it causes more pain in the long run. So as we wind up this segment of Get Real About Love, I hope that if you have experienced this, that you'll be gentle with your heart and you'll take time to reflect on how important your gift of giving your heart to somebody too soon can cause more damage than good. So it's not going to go anywhere. The love won't go anywhere. You're not going to lose anything over it. So just watch your heart and make sure that you get real with yourself. And we are going to be giving you a few more tips in just a moment.
Okay. I highly recommend reading this section of the book so you really have your tools in place to spot someone who's just a player, or someone who's really deeply wounded and not able to give what you really clearly know you want in a relationship. And that doesn't make them bad. It just makes you take a cautionary stance about how much of your heart you give to that situation.
Well, I have to say, Clay, I'm so appreciative of your raw, real, insights, from a celebrity standpoint. I know that a lot of people feel that celebrities have it made, that they can just go and just pick up anybody that they want. And it's probably true. But in the long run, wouldn't you say that you could have left a few broken hearts behind?
Oh, I'm sure that I have. Like I said, when I first started traveling after the soap opera that I did was quite popular internationally. It was, a bit like a kid in a candy store, but actually I had the opposite experience when I first went to Italy, for example. Mm-hmm. I couldn't walk on the street, and I don't say that with ego so much as it was I was like a deer in the headlights. I had no idea if I had a real friend. It seemed like everybody just wanted to have a little juice from you, or they wanted to use you to entertain their friends, or, so I felt like a dancing bear at many of the events I went to, because I was this center of attention that nobody knew who I really was. So there was that little guy inside that was really suffering. Yeah. So it's not all it's cracked up to be. And this thrill seeking, it's like trying to live on cotton candy. Sooner or later, you've got to have a square meal that really meets your nutritional needs. Cotton candy's tasty, but you can't live on it.
Well, it's also empty after a while. I mean, I can say that I dated a few guys that I thought that they were really cool in the beginning. And then after I got to know them, I was like, wow, he doesn't really have that much behind the face, or the looks and everything. As I finally realized that I had attracted unavailable men, because I myself grew up in a family of, cheaters. And so a part of me didn't trust love until I healed this part of myself. And that's what my work is all about, is healing the parts of us that make us do stupid things to keep hurting ourselves over and over, right?
That's a key point, because I can relate to that too. I had some wounds from my childhood. And so when I feel abandoned by something that I really get my heart set on, and I feel a deep disappointment, it's oftentimes being triggered by that sense memory from my childhood.
Well, they say if you've been hurt, if you've done, a bad guy or a bad girl and you got hurt, your mind stores the memories as they happen to you. Your heart also feels that pain, and then you might have a happy experience in there. But if the pain overweighs the pleasure and the true connection, then a part of you doesn't believe that love exists for you. Right? And so you will do whatever it takes to feel that love, even though it might not be real. And that is why, the only reason I'm saying this is because I did it to myself, and I finally learned how to unwind it. And I literally share my whole journey with the world, because I couldn't find somebody to help me to integrate between, like Clayton was talking about his little boy, and I know he's dying to talk about it. And I had that little girl that wanted that fixed that moment. It was like getting a lollipop, but it wasn't a lollipop. It was a heartbreak, and it didn't taste that good after I had it. I can tell you.
Very disillusioning when you think you're going to get a big thrill out of this that's going to last, and you find out once again that it's cotton candy or a lollipop. And so, and I have a tendency sometimes to delude myself and think, oh, I can fix this. I can outlast this crisis. I can, my love is so big that I'll win her over, Yeah. And instead of looking for that even energy exchange as you move in a gradual way, I think it maintains more of the fun and the mystery of a relationship too. If you don't go in so fast and you just kind of let someone, you find out if they really want to know you, if they ask you leading questions. and things like that. So it just protects me from a lot of what amounts to addictive behavior about getting that thrill. And I think the wounding you talked about, people who get hurt, they start to feel like this is a safe defense mechanism. But just having sex with people is really, I intuit, is not true intimacy. It's a dodge of intimacy. It's an action. It's not supported by an emotional context. And so it's a way for a lot of people to avoid threatening and painful intimacy because they've had bad experiences.
I agree. I totally agree. And it's so important for you to be real with yourself. That's the whole part of why I do what I do, is to make you do the self-examination to see what your patterns are. So what are your patterns? And we would love to hear. We'd love to hear if you've gone out with a bad girl or a naughty boy, and see how your heart fared after that. Or what did you learn from it, right?
Yeah, tell us what you learned. That's really what's
valuable. Tell us what you learned, because people need to know that real love exists. And I have extraordinary love in my life. I've been married now, gosh, it's going on 15 years. So wow. I'm only here. I know I'm going to be married 15 years. And we get married every year. And I make sure that I keep my life and my sacredness and my marriage very close to my heart.
Isn't that beautiful? I know we got to wrap this up, but the next one, I want to hear a lot more about how that whole thing went down after you were kind of had that bad girl reputation, right?
I did. People used to call me a man eater because I really didn't hurt anyone. I wouldn't let people close to me. I would hurt people by pulling them in with my bubbliness and then saying, you know, I just don't trust.
I can relate to that.
My lack of trust was what caused me to wait until I was in my 40s to get married. So now you're adding up the years, and I'm not going to say how old I am, but I'm trying to help people that are either going through a shitstorm or a divorce or a breakup, not waste years of their life trying to get over it.
We need it, this whole COVID thing, and it's added a whole new dimension to dating in the first place. I mean, you can't just jump into bed with somebody. It's taken on it. You take your life in your hands potentially. So it's going to be a very interesting time that we are stepping into with this kind of advice, and I hope that it's going to reach some more receptive ears, shall we say?
Yeah. So we are only here to spread love. We hope you enjoyed this. We love to hear from you. I'm letting all of Clayton's Italian fans, we are transcribing the book into Italian, and very soon we're going to be offering a free first couple chapters of the book so you can see if it's interpreted properly.
You want me to say something in Italian at the end here?
Yes, tell the ones of the Italians that we're doing this for them, right?
Per favore, nostra audienza italiano, se hai sfruttato questo bel video con Renee, ti piacerebbe commentare o fare una domanda, lascialo a mia claytonnorcross.official sull'Instagram, ok?
Yes. So be kind to your heart. If you've dated a bad girl or a naughty boy, just remember the memory and move on. It's not worth ruminating over anymore. People stay hooked on all that for years, and life is too short. Pick up the book, show them the book. Get Real About Love on Amazon, and it will change your life. I promise you, if I had only had somebody be real with me the way that I'm being real with you, real with Clayton, and thousands of people around the world that have gotten married after saying, I am done with love. You can't let one or two or three people in your past make you make such a definite decision. You have to say, no, I'm going to learn the lessons and find true love. And believe me, it was well worth it. It was well worth it, but it is work. So inner work that everyone needs to do.
It's discipline.
So Clayton, thank you for sharing your beautiful heart with all of these people worldwide. And we will be back next week with more tips, and we hope to hear from you.
Ciao tutti.
Bye-bye. Big love. Hold on to that heart. We'll talk to you soon.